My son has that means
Just hit one new one. No,
oh, yeah. Oh.
Real crap, you can't do it.
She might call.
That would have happened.
Like I understand the video, whatever. Nobody got
Everybody. Check mine right now. Awesome.
Yeah. Because all the other singles were very arts, and they got all their started using profanity and everything. So I was like, so I could hold them. I'm like, we're just gonna leave. I was like, fine. You were leaving this guy. It's just ridiculous. I was like, customers coming around. I mean, every chat, no, like, it's totally bad.
They make sense. I'm 2 trophies behind your dad. Yeah. I'm getting ready to pass. We still have 18 people in our clan.
18 people? You lost 2 more.
Yes, we had one. In addition, right there. Donate.
Man,
Nice knowing you.
all right. Switch it up with.
Oh yeah.
I go straight for I never lose.
Oh yeah.
That's why you're saying guys, go straight.
No.
Robbie, current fan.
Is he out?
Guess what time Connor
No, he did it the second time.
You know what's bad when he here's the installment of everyone else.
It's actually a normal square wall.
The first second wall.
He kept all of his elixir storage, all of his everything. No defense. Like you just go there.
Hey guys, I gotta fix something. My son came in after school and he did all my stuff. Awesome. Next time you have kids, just think about that. Next time. I don't know about your private life, Tommy.
You were speaking. You took what else were Robbie? Here you go.
Robbie, 2014. Takes all kinds of time.
Poor little Robbie over there. Misspeaks some words and just so. Oh God. It's pretty embarrassing. I don't want to know.
Okay, this is why I don't want to know.
Like, it's not bad. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's bad. Let's just listen to the word. Let's listen to it's not really the world. All of us. He's a best spot. Embarrassing yourself.
Free rock, huh?
Alright. That rhymes with. The scene that rhymes with the fuck is what's that song? Little Grandma Right Now by Ranger? Grandma never going else to jail?
I thought it was actually from a song.
Next time that we have
They don't want to leave, let them leave.
I'm still here.
That's right. Hey, this claim when you need a tank. You didn't have
I didn't know you had a machinator.
Yeah, he was the first actual movie.
Yeah.
You have no chance now.
The only thing that's affecting us is that we just got put up against the movie land, and then everyone's free.
Shady, who is, you don't, hold on, guys, you usually she, I came out the other day, and she, where does she work? Or the restaurant, okay. So she came out the other day to my room, somebody volunteered to clean up the bathroom. Yeah, that's how he's like, I just thought like, one of those conversation. But she was just like,
I got her.
I don't think she cared that much.
Whoa, everyone left their plan.
Well, they just joined today, too.
Okay, here we go, guys. Sorry for the delay. Apologize, but someday you're gonna have children to find out your kids can torpedo you like your worst enemy.
Wait, who drew this? This isn't yours.
I am just
That's literally a cannon.
devastated.
Literally a cannon.
Mason, I am hurt.
That's the first thing I noticed is that that's a cannon.
You can't tell. This is my handwriting. What?
Oh, it's legible.
I can't come out. Hey, defend me over here.
Hey, watch out, Jared.
I will say Johnny did a good job.
You believe this is my drawing, don't you? Thanks, Shay.
I will say Johnny did a good job drawing this.
No. Yeah, thanks for the stipulation. I appreciate it. No. No, this is not my handwriting. This is Justin Anderson's older sister, Kelsey.
I was going to say Justin Anderson.
No. I know I'm lying. Chris, go ahead, quick.
I was just already saying, Johnny Finner did a nice job drawing it.
No, Johnny Finner did not draw this either. He can barely write his name.
I know.
He fits his Michael Jackson very well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Not a lot to cover writing wise today, but a big battle. Okay. I know we're at the end of a long, crazy week, and our minds are a lot of different places. But focus here for this last part. Oh, here we go. All right. So let's go down the aisles here. Make sure everybody's with this. Nick, you ready to go? Can you multitask with the sucker and our lesson?
We'll see.
We'll see. All right.
He's really happy right now.
Darren, how you doing over there?
I'm doing good.
You ready to get rolling? Ready to learn?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm not.
Fired up, Piper Hill. I've already given up on you, Colleen. Yep, I'm going to give you a.
What's your honest opinion about it? I'm not perfect about that.
Nope. You know better than that.
No, I don't.
You know I'm not going to give an opinion on that.
Give an opinion.
I hate that extra credit doesn't help you. I don't like that. I will say that. I hate the fact that it's an extra credit project that doesn't help. You know what I mean? I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I got to go on with battle chat.
Robbie.
Robbie screwed up though.
Okay.
I only got one.
But Colleen, I do have to go on with battle chat. Okay. Freddie, you ready to go back to
What
battle?
I just
Okay.
said for us.
So, Mason, don't hurry, bud. Come on. Okay. Yesterday, because you are looking at, wrapping up the Civil War. Yesterday, the South won, if you guys remember, at the River of Death, also known as the Battle of
Chattanooga.
Chickamauga. Okay. South won. They brought Longstreet west, went very well. Mistake by Rosecrans, they tell him, General, there's a hole in his lines. Actually, remember, there was not.
Just
They opened
very good
lines
hidden.
up. Longstreet, like a wolf to the slaughter, just bust through. Would have been really bad if you remember from yesterday, kind of reviewing, right? Luckily, there's a group of Union soldiers that had got new rifles. And they're on a hill, they hold the day. That allows most of the Union Army to withdraw to a town called Chattanooga. That was a railroad town, okay? They're besieging this town. As you can kind of tell, Grant is in this town. They're the blue guys, okay? Union's the blue guys, Karen, right?
Yep.
I always kind of pick on you, but you can handle it.
Yeah.
Grant takes over. That's your boy, Anna, right? He gets some hardtack to them. They're not doing well. They've eaten their mules. They're almost starving, but Grant starts getting them some biscuits. They're surviving. But now they're in this town. Jacob, I'll get to you just 1 second, okay? I didn't forget about you. They're in trouble, though. The South is up on top of this long set of hills here called Missionary Ridge and a little mountain called Lookout Mountain. And so here's the South on these hills overlooking this town, and Grant's like, no, this is not a good place to be, but you don't want to give up a railroad town. Agree? That's kind of where we pick up today. So the Union is kind of pulled back in this town. They're kind of licking their wounds. They're in trouble. Jacob, go ahead, buddy. How do we get? Oh, got a recap. Okay, 30-second recap then. After Gettysburg, we kind of said Meade should have really hammered Lee. Instead, they're still kind of afraid. You still got that Jackson ninja roll scared. So this is Lincoln's doing. He said Meade kind of just shooed Jackson back to Virginia like an old farmer shooting geese. So Lee, go on home, Lee, go on home. And so instead of like jumping on him, he just kind of said, why don't you go on home, Lee? And so for about 6 months after Gettysburg, they just kind of leave the South, just go on home now, they kind of leave them alone. So if you're not going to tackle Lee in Virginia, what's going to happen is they're going to kind of shift west to Tennessee. You've got Grant chewing up Vicksburg over there on the Mississippi River. You've got, Meade from Gettysburg chewing Lee home. So what's happened now is the attention has went to the middle in Tennessee. Since Lee is not really afraid of Meade because he really doesn't want to tangle with Lee, they take Longstreet, who's ticked off at Lee. Remember that? Let me go right. Don't want to charge the hill. They shipped him and 12,000 troops to Tennessee to help out. Okay. Fair enough. Good catch up. And they win, and the South win, which we're not surprised because Longstreet's a good. We all kind of liked him. Okay. And so he helps them and they win. And that's what we covered yesterday. Good question. I forgot you were wrong. So is that a pretty good catch up? Okay. So now the South has the North trapped in a railroad town. Look at these hills, guys. This is Missionary Ridge, very long ridge. Reminds me of Cemetery Ridge at Gettysburg. Agree? You've got Lookout Mountain. And the South puts cannons on top of those, and they're looking down at the North, down those towns, just kind of licking their chops. And that's what we'll pick up today. It's not left to right, you can tell. Hopefully you can translate that over to this map that one of my students drew for me, okay? Okay. Hope they did a good job. We're a little short on time again, or we go through and we color those correctly. But let's do this real quick. Let's put a big N or S next to these to help us figure out who's on which side. Okay, you want to do north or south first?
North.
North. Okay, for north, who is the leader for the north? Anna, you're going to help us out. Chris already said it, but Anna, who's your hero?
Grant.
So let's put a big old N by Grant. You guys see Grant there? Let's put a big old N by Grant. Okay. So who's on Grant's side?
Thomas.
Thomas, the Rock of Chickamauga, repeating rifles, right? That's the Chicka-losers, the Chickamauga losers, under Thomas, right? Remember I gave his name yesterday? Okay.
Hooker.
Next to him, behind him,
Hooker.
I barely knew her. Hooker.
Oh.
I don't know. What does that even mean? I just made that up just because it sounds cool. It doesn't even mean anything. Okay. That's the Army of the Potomac rejects, right? And then Chester back on the cartridge. Okay, now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Go all the way over. Do you see the railroad tunnel? Tunnel Hill?
Yeah.
See Sherman over there?
Yep.
Vicksburg winners. Northerners too. Grant has pieces of 3 different armies. Chickamauga losers, Potomac rejects, and Vicksburg winners that he's combined together. Now, let's do south. Okay, who's the leader of our Southerners? Bragg, bragging about what he just did at Chickamauga. How's that for a little tie-in, huh? I don't teach me that in college. I had to learn that on my own. So you're impressed by that. All right. He's got Breckinridge. That's his main guy. And he's got Patrick Cleburne. You see Cleburne up there? He's on top of these big hills. Plus, he's over here on Lookout Mountain. Okay, put a big S on Lookout Mountain. You guys see Lookout Mountain there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got Lookout Mountain. Okay. Now we missed a guy named Hardy, like Hardy's restaurant. Yeah, that we could add. And he would just be just north of Bragg. You could probably put in just north of Bragg there. Hardy, like Hardy's restaurant, those nasty Kate Upton commercials. I just in case you
She's a
ever
nice
seen
lady.
She's a nice lady. David Justin Verlander. Nice girl.
So my wife says. She'll change the channel whenever she comes on.
Okay. She drips stuff all over and. He tried to. Would you say at least she cleans it up?
Yeah.
He's a bit. I know, Nick. He's a bit. Poor girl. Okay. Okay. Now, Bragg. First blank, 44,000. Yeah, 44,000.
Yeah. Can I call him back then? I was just 15 minutes.
Okay.
Good.
Alright. Starting off. Bragg had placed his 44,000 men on 2 heights around the city. The first one is Missionary Ridge, a 6-mile ridge east of the city. You can see here, so again, from about here from here to Union, it's a very lengthy ridge. It's not just like one little hill, it's a very long ridge. The other one is Lookout Mountain, a steep bluff 2,000 feet tall with cannon placed on top guarding the south and west. To give you an idea, the tallest point in Franklin County is like where the old Hardee's used to be. That's about 600 feet above sea level. By Mobile. That's the highest point in Franklin County. It's about 600 feet above sea level. That's why the Hardee's sign always used to be as tall as the McDonald's sign. When you're driving into town from like Pacific, look like they're about the same height. When you get closer, like, what the heck? McDonald's is like much taller. Because Mobile and that is like on a high point. By Subway there, that's the highest point in Franklin County. If you're ever hit by a massive flood, that's where you need to go. Just saying. Life lesson, you got that for free. Okay. About 620. So this is a 2,000 foot hill. So you're talking bigger than like you guys been down to Branson, those hills. That's about 1,000 feet. So Missionary Ridge and Lookout Mountain are like 2,000 feet tall. These are mountains, right? These are real deal. Okay. So this just point B there. Nothing to right. Tennessee. This is northern Tennessee. Southern Tennessee, northern Georgia. Okay. All right. Moving on. Now Grant came against him with 60,000 men. Come at me, bro. From 3 different armies. Okay. Grant had Hooker on his right. Leave it alone.
Whiskey on his left.
Thomas in the center, and Sherman on the left. Okay. Hooker on the right, those are the Potomac rejects. Thomas's Army of the Cumberland, the Chickamauga losers, and Sherman's Army of the Tennessee, Vicksburg winners on the left. So he's got three different armies that he's got. So Hooker, Thomas, and Sherman. And you see right here. Okay, if you forget, it's right here. Okay? All right. Thomas began the attack with the assault on the small hill, Orchard Knob, guarding the approach to Missionary Ridge. Thomas took the hill. Why would Grant do that? He wanted to give the Chickamauga losers a small victory to get their kind of courage and morale back up. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, that makes sense. And so the South wasn't too interested in holding it, so he said, go take this little hill, and so kind of pat him on the back, so they did. And South's going, whatever. So they kind of pulled back. It was a good hill, but they realized they really didn't have to hold this. They really wanted to hold the big one, right? Makes sense? You guys get it. No problem. Okay, next one. Sherman then assaulted the northern end of Missionary Ridge. His attack was stopped cold by Confederate General Patrick Cleburne, who was known as the Stonewall of the West. Okay. Sherman's feeling pretty good. Remember, he's the Vicksburg winner. They can do, we won Vicksburg. They're feeling pretty good. They come charging up this hill, and Cleburne, very tough general, he just flat out stops the Vicksburg winners under Sherman. Kind of like, oh, maybe not, they go back down. This part was separated by a railroad, so you guys can kind of see, kind of think Walking Dead, John, railroad tunnel there, blockaded, it's not going to move. So they go back down the hill like, maybe not, Okay. The battle was at such a high altitude, though, it's known as the Battle Above the Clouds. You guys, I don't know if you can see this picture very well, but the battle was fought at such a high altitude, they actually marched through the clouds and came out above the clouds. So this battle was actually fought above the clouds, on the edge of the hill. Pretty interesting. You can look down and see the clouds. Right. Okay, interesting. Some of you, Robbie, you've been there. You can drive up, and you have to look down and see clouds below the ground. Pretty freaky.
So guy got a front row ticket to this battle.
You get up in Black Hills, you see that's clouds down there.
We stayed in these cabins that were really top of the mountain,
Yep.
whatever, and every morning we look down into these clouds.
Hard to breathe up there, too. Yep.
Yeah.
So these guys from Sherman are trying to charge. They get to the top of the hill.
I felt out of shape. Like,
Yeah.
running up the hill.
It's not you, it's the altitude. Go ahead, Chris.
So basically, guy got a front row ticket to this battle.
Yes, God the Angels got a front row ticket. Okay, moving on. Number 3. That evening, Bragg decided to pull Generals Cheatham and Stevenson from nearby Lookout Mountain to join the rest of Bragg's forces on Missionary Ridge. He got nervous. He did not want to leave Stevenson and Cheatham out here on this very tall point. I don't know. He was outnumbered. He was afraid they were going to get flamed. I don't know. Most historians kind of bag on him, kind of a stupid move. Probably should have left him up there. But he pulls them back to this hill. Pulls these guys back to this one hill. Thinks, well, it's a 6-mile hill. I can kind of see what he's thinking. Later on, historians kind of rip on him. For whatever reason, he pulls them off this very, very tall lookout hill. I would have left him out there. That's an awesome position. Good firing range. You can fire on the city directly. For whatever reason, he pulls these guys off this awesome tall hill, brings them back with him. Okay. Dumb decision. You can see what he was thinking, though. Don't want to leave them out there by themselves. Hard to supply them. Might get isolated. He's outnumbered. Okay. Not the worst decision, but, yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Number 4. The next day, Sherman and Hooker renewed the attack. You guys are in the military stuff. You can see what Grant's doing. He's using his Vicksburg winners and the Potomac veterans of, these guys they've been fighting the whole war. They fought Lee. They're the real deal. He's using them. He's not using the Chickamauga losers. He just gave them like a little candy assignment. He's like holding them. You hold them in place, and then we'll. Okay. I got some good nods there. Okay. All right. So he's not charging the hill. What's he doing? He's coming at him from the ends. Kind of like they wanted to do at Gettysburg. That Hood wanted to do. I'm not charging that hill straight up. I'm gonna nibble at the ends of them because I have more men than he does. He can't cover everything that I can cover. Yeah, good. Some of you get it. Even on a Friday, the day before prom, right? You still do it. Okay. Good job. All right.
Hooker moved down off Lookout Mountain and took the gap between the mountain, then began a steep climb. Sherman attacked Cleburne with little success. Sherman tries climbing that hill again, and Anna, just like you, he was huffing and puffing by the time they got to the top. Okay. Well, they weren't, and they were still huffing and puffing. So you would have been about like, good job, boys, keep climbing. Never mind. You cheer them on? Like, good job, boys. Okay. Fair enough. Number 5. Hooker climbed, pushed up the southern end of Missionary Ridge, forcing Confederate General Breckinridge off the ridge. Hooker was able to move Breckinridge about 3 miles. There was a creek here, and it was during the night, and some Missouri troops. What they did, there was a creek there, they nailed a bunch of boards together and made a 1-person bridge across. And, the South was guarding it, but they didn't expect, like, who would cross an army on a 1-person little footbridge? I mean, when I say footbridge, it was 1 board. And you wouldn't think an army would cross on that because you could easily, like, pick them off, but it was during the night. And they heard some hammering, but they thought, we're watching and we see a big movement. But these Missouri troops, being kind of hillbilly, they went across 1 man at a time, file out. And so this whole regiment moves across. Morning comes, they're climbing the hill. Like, where did these guys come from? They came in behind them. I'm like, where did these guys come from? There's no bridge here. They built a literal footbridge, 1 foot in front of the other. In the middle of the night, these guys went across, hand on the shoulder. These crazy Missouri troops crossed the bridge in the middle of the night. How wide was it? The bridge itself or the creek? The creek was like Little Indian Creek. Yeah, exactly. Like 20 feet across, and we're talking like 6 foot deep water. So when I say creek, I don't mean like when this floods down here, I mean creek. Chattanooga Creek. Yeah, like you better not fall. And it's November, so no reports of anybody falling. I know, again, dang. Yeah. And that's when the Southerners were like, dang, where'd they come from? Because it's not like it was like a creek. I mean, creek. Where these guys come from? Yeah, this is like 1 board, it's a V shape, like 1 2x4, V, X. Yeah. And they went across, carrying their stuff in the back. That's why the South wakes up and they're like, where these guys come from? And Walker has to pull up because some of the troops get surrounded on all 4 sides by these crazy Missouri guys. Where do they come from? Across 1 board across the creek,
Hey, how you doing?
Okay, yeah. Okay. So Grant was surprised by Hooker's successful effort. He's kind of like, he looks at Hooker, and I'm putting in my words, he's kind of like, I thought you guys suck. Because they sent me the rejects, he's kind of like, I thought you guys suck, that's why you're out here. And so now Hooker's like climbing the hill, and it's kind of like, oh. So the rejects like, oh, you guys are out here because you weren't very good. He's kind of like, okay, again, dang, on the other side, dang. All right. Fair enough. Grant then sent General Thomas with 20,000 men to attack the rifle pits at the bottom of the ridge. We would call them like foxholes today, right? Rifle pits, we call them foxholes today. He says, okay, Thomas, I want you to take out these foxholes, or these rifle pits, at the bottom of the South's position. Just go out. Now, second line, the Army of the Cumberland, I'm going to put in my words and you kind of chop it up like you want, was eager to prove itself after the loss at Chickamauga. Put that how you want, but they were eager to prove themselves after the loss at Chickamauga. They were eager to prove themselves after the loss at Chickamauga. They just got whooped and they want to show like
We can still fight.
yeah. Okay. All right. The men marched a mile of open ground. So remember, the South's up on the hill. They're getting pounded. They got a mile of march, just like Pickett's charge. So they get to these rifle pits, and they're fine. The South's in the rifle pits shoot at them, but they're determined, like, we're going to prove ourselves this time. So they march a mile of open ground, then quickly drove the rebels out of the pits up the hill. The retreating Confederates were followed so closely by the Union troops that the defenders could not shoot them. Could not shoot them. Chrissy, can you help me out for a second? You feel okay? Can you help me out for a second? Yeah. Sure. So now you're going to be a Southerner, though.
I know where he is.
All right, that's okay. So he's a Southerner. He's running up the hill. What the Union troops do is they get right behind him, but instead of shooting him, keep going forward, they get right behind him. So he's running up the hill to his friends. Instead of shooting him, what I do is I get right behind him, chasing him up the hill. Okay, let's go this way. Run this way. So, oh no, run away, Johnny Rep. What the Union soldiers do is get right behind him, but I don't shoot him. You can go back to your seat.
Okay.
The Union soldiers run right behind the Southerners who are retreating up Missionary Ridge, and they follow right behind him, but they don't shoot him. They run right behind him as a screen. Now, all they're supposed to do is take the foxholes or the rifle pits at the bottom, but they chase these guys out of the rifle pits and start climbing the hill. Now, if you're Grant, you're like, oh, great. All I told them to do was go clear these rifle pits. Chickamauga losers. Here we go again. Idiots. Okay, next line. Many of the Confederates were mistakenly on the top of the ridge, not partly down the ridge, allowing the Union to approach the steep hill unmolested. You could not react. Okay. I asked.
You put it in there.
Karen, you're on Team Pritchard. What are you doing? I'm getting like big messages on my allies today. I expect it from Mason. Okay. Here's a little bit of engineering. Dylan, I think you're going to get this because you're a shooter. When you defend a hill, if you put your cannon straight on top of the hill, you can only fire at a certain angle. And I could actually walk up to safety all the way to that point. You guys see what I'm talking about? I can't shoot you till you get about there. Some of you see that? What I'm actually supposed to do is dig down and put my cannon here, and then I can shoot before you even get to my hill. Does that make sense? But they were in such a hurry, and Bragg was such a poor general at following up like details like that, he had put most of his cannons directly on top of the hill. And so when they fired, the Southerners had been in such a hurry, and Bragg didn't inspect, that they actually could not fire till the Southerners got Southern fire, so the Union had got about 3/4 of the way up the hill. The other problem is the retreating guys for the South were running up the hill. You see the problem? So like, hold there, they can't shoot, because if you elevate the cannon too much, what's going to happen is, boom, it's going to launch in the air and come down, stick in the mud. You can only jack it up so much, right? Now when it fires, what's going to happen? It's going to shoot itself in the air and stick in the mud. You can only jack it up so much. And so now the Union troops are like, cool, we're not getting shot at. So what do? They just keep going up the hill. Okay, you guys are with me, good. Okay. The climb was tough. The desperate rebels threw rocks and artillery shells. We can't shoot them, so they're picking up like big rocks and just like chucking them down the hill. They're taking artillery shells, hitting them with hammers like a Vicksburg, throwing them down the hill. They're desperate. Robbie, they have maybe the finest position of the Civil War. 7 miles of bridges overlooking Chattanooga. They can see them coming for over a mile. They know they're coming. Awesome position. Bragg has maybe the finest position the South held outside of Fredericksburg the entire war. And all right. General Thomas allowed his men, led by Sheridan, 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 to go past the rifle pits and up the ridge. General Thomas lets his men keep going. Chickamauga losers are climbing the hill. Good, right?
Yeah.
Not if you're Grant.
No.
These are the Chickamauga losers. This isn't even the JV. This is like the freshman team. Like you did not put. This is like they're supposed to be like scrimmaging, just watching, practice squad. Listen, you're go pick up the tackling dummies, go put away the equipment. You're not supposed to be involved in like game time decisions. He's like, oh, great. I'm trying to build, I was trying to give him a little PT at the end of the game, scores high, I was trying to get him in at the end, give him some minutes. They're charged in the middle of the hill. Payne did a little right in the middle, like we're going to have another Piggish charge, reverse, these guys are going to get slaughtered. So Grant's okay. So one of his aides rides up to him, and Grant says, who's this attacking? Like, who's charging the hill? What the heck? And his aide told him, it'll be all right, General. Here's Grant. Grant says, here's what Grant replied back to him. I hope so, or someone will suffer. I hope so, or someone will suffer. I hope so, or someone will suffer. Okay? He debated whether to stop the attack. Here's the problem. If you stop the attack, though, they're in trouble, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're going to get fired on trying to get back down. So he's just like, he's just boiling. Nothing he can do. Okay. The Confederate center panicked at the sight of so many attacking Union soldiers. The entire center retreated down the rear of the hill. The battle lasted about 10 minutes. They had been besieging this town for over 2 months. 60, 70 days, they've had this town surrounded. When the Union finally decided to attack, 10 minutes later, this entire middle of the hillside is running down the back of the hill as fast as they can. Bragg is just standing there like, what just happened? He has this perfect position, Rodney. Maybe the best position outside of Fredericksburg in the entire Civil War. 6 miles of awesome ridge. You can see the whole town. You have cannons up there. Next thing you know, 2 minutes later, the middle part of his army is running down the back of the hill. He's like, what? You know, what? Okay. Confederate General Bragg told his men to stop calling, "Here is your general." So he's standing in the middle of the crowd like, "Here is your general." To which his men replied, "Here is your mule," as they jumped on the mules and started running away with them. They stole the camp's mules. "Here's your mule!" They jump on him and ride off. So, boys, here's your general. He said, "Here's your mule," and they rode off. That was said about him. He wasn't a good feeder. Like, he didn't feed his troops very well, so they didn't like him at all. Remember, he's a jerk. He'd have people shot him. He was not a good guy. This is the guy that his troops rolled a cannonball under his bed, and when he was in the West, he was. Remember, he wrote the letter. My God, Bragg, with me gone, you start arguing with yourself. Remember, he wrote the letter, arguing with himself and stuff. So they didn't like him. "Here's your general, boys." Like, "Here's your mule." They rode off with the mule on the side of the hill. So, General Breckinridge, they did like him. He realized, like, this battle's over. He told his men, "Boys, get away as best you can. Boys, get away as best you can." He knew, like, this is over, right? Like, he was realistic. He realized, you're not gonna, it's over.
Yeah,
So he just said, "Boys, get away as best you can. Like, get out of here. This battle's over." Okay? Now, on the far north, remember it's separated by a tunnel. What about Cleburne? Hasn't he been doing pretty well up here?
Yeah.
Remember, you got Anna at the bottom of the hill, like, "Go on, boys, I'm not climbing that crazy hill." Okay? Cleburne was still holding Sherman off. He hears, like, cheering and shouting. What does Cleburne think?
Hey, we're winning.
We're winning because of clouds. Remember, he can't see. So Cleburne, he thinks, awesome. They finally stupidly charged, like, "Yeah, we're winning. I'm whooping Sherman. They're whooping the other guys over there." When his men heard the shouting, they believed the South had won. Cleburne was surprised when Bragg ordered him to retreat. Retreat? What do you mean? Sherman and Thomas followed Bragg's retreat, capturing stragglers. It is a solid Union victory. Okay? They had to pull Cleburne off. He's in good shape. He has to come off and, like, protect the retreat. He'd been winning. So they pull him off so he can, like, protect the retreat out of there. Otherwise, he was winning. Give me a break. Okay. They later put a cemetery on the ridge. There's a big cemetery there. Robbie probably went there and saw the big cemetery. So they put a cemetery on the ridge plus on Orchard 9. Both places have cemeteries. Okay? All right. Northern casualties are about 16,150. Okay? About 3 Sinclairs, right? Southern casualties, 18,400. That includes about 4,000 Confederate POWs. They captured 4,000 POWs running away.
So many
Or
men.
killed, wounded,
Where do all these people come from?
all over this,
Crazy.
whole state. That's a lot of people, isn't it?
That's just like,
These are all young men too,
and they just keep popping
They just
up
keep
out of
popping up.
nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
They're like
18,000 men died. You think they blow our men? Nope, we get 20,000.
Get more, go get more.
Guys, we can for 20,000 more men. Like, they're just freaking
Yeah.
candy or something.
Okay. All right.
I stuck my gun on the floor.
All right, at the end here. Now, from yesterday, if you remember yesterday at the end of Chickamauga, Longstreet got mad at Bragg for being so stupid. And he went off to attack Burnside, the other reject, okay, up in Knoxville. So Longstreet went to attack Burnside, the other reject. Let's look what happens here, because you would expect, if I asked you guys what's going to happen, Longstreet should just destroy Burnside like he always did before.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. Longstreet had 18,000 men. He wasn't at Missionary Ridge. He was off doing his own thing. Might have helped if he was there, right?
Yep.
He was pretty good at defending hills last time I checked. Fredericksburg, right? Okay. Anyway, that included Wheeler's cavalry. They go off to attack Knoxville, where Burnside is. The town was heavily fortified and defended by Burnside with 25,000 men. Okay. Longstreet spent weeks probing for a week. Fix the spelling here. W-E-A-K. Not a 7-day spot, but a typo there, John. Okay. Longstreet launched a surprise attack on Fort Sanders. It was a disaster. Burnside used wire to guard the fort. We don't have barbed wire yet. That's going to be about 10 years later, the 1870s. Longstreet didn't suspect this because Burnside was not a smart man. I'm not a smart man, you know. He took telegraph wire and he put it about 2 feet off the ground all around his fort. So when the Confederates came charging, they tripped over it. It wasn't barbed wire, but it's like pre-World War I thinking. He put telegraph wire all around his fort. So when the Confederates tried to make a charge, you know, they tripped. And then when they got up, here's the next thing, he had a 10-foot ditch in front of his fort. The CSA lacked ladders. He had a 10-foot ditch and a 7-foot wall. So here's the bottom of this ditch, looking up. And Longstreet's like, oh. Nobody. That's like
just launched the
that's like Middle Ages, right? Like, who brings ladders to warfare, right? You know, like he's kind of like so they start making like putting their guns in, like trying to make ladders, trigger guard to trigger guard, you know, bayonets. They start trying to make them, but the Union's like, we're not going to let you, you know. They start fighting. They make a few out of guns and stuff, but the ones that get in are all captured or killed. The ones that actually do get in the fort is such a small number. The North's like, yeah, that's nice, you know, smash against the wall, shoot, stab. It's a disaster. Longstreet's kind of like, that's Burnside? Again, dang, didn't he suck? You know, the Unions learn how to fight is what's happening. Do you know what's happening? The Unions learn how to fight.
When you say the drills, they seem to become better.
They seem to become better. Longstreet's like, hey, I'm Longstreet, you know, I'm supposed to be good. That's when these guys out west are kind of like, weren't you like supposed to be the stud, you know? So Longstreet's kind of like, I'll go back to the lead, you know. Kind of gets his tail between his legs and has to go back. Okay. Burnside used wire to guard the fort. CSA like ladders. Casualties for the North, 693. For the South, 1142. Longstreet has to go back to Lee with his tail between his legs. You're smart, I'm dumb. You're good looking, I'm so good looking, you know. Can I come back? Both victories today, definitely Northern victories. Add them to your battle chart. All right.
Underdog.
You just throw like Nicholas and throw Raymond in between there.
I don't
I'm thinking that.
I almost on the other side of this.
And she wasn't gonna come get him. So he's like, I'm just gonna walk to my dad. So I'm like, I'm bringing you a 10.
May.
He wanted to walk to the beach. And I'm like, Aaron, not walking. He calls mom, showed me up. So he's like, I'm like, you get away home. He's like, yeah, okay, go home.
Yeah.
I don't walk with your dad.
I never paid for
Yes. Okay, bags are insane.
I lost the bet, that's the only reason.
I'm so dumb about that. It sounds like it's so sweet. He's kind of intelligent.
You know, they
Never.